Oh, yeah, we're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. And you've just crossed over into the Trend Zone. Casey here with Dave. Damn, I had so many tries to get it. There, I got it.
You
We are
nailed
the
it.
football dudes. Dave, are you ready, bro?
Oh, yeah. You got that right, my friend.
All right. Third time's a charm. And that signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the Trend Zone. It is Wednesday, November 22nd. We're coming to you, Los Angeles, California.
Oh,
Dave,
yeah.
it's a beautiful 65 degrees here in the Sherm.
Yeah, 61 on the west side. It's cooling off quite a bit. A little bit here. Cooler temperatures, cool winds coming in.
I had to put on the parka. You see the Eddie Vedder parka here. It's hard going backwards, dude. There we
Yeah,
go.
there you go. You got
All right. In today's episode, we will talk about some coaches on the hot seat, a starting quarterback that might have a little wood in his bottom from getting slammed to the bench,
it.
another GM gets canned. And Dave, I know you've been waiting. We have a little news about Queen Bee. That's right, Beyonce on the show.
I am overjoyed. I gotta tell
Beyonce is not on the show. Beyonce
you.
News is on the show, just to
Oh, well.
clarify there, in case the peoples freak out. Dave, and you know you cannot take a trip through the zone without the tasty nugs. Tell me you're holding for the people.
You got that right. I have got some tasty nugs here in week 11. 10 games decided by one score in the fourth quarter, 7 games decided by 8 or fewer points, including 3 teams, the Colts, Seahawks, and our Los Angeles Chargers, that got a game-winning touchdown in the final minute of the fourth quarter, dude. 78 games this season have been decided by 6 or fewer points. That is the most ever through week 11 in a single season in NFL history.
It's the
Also,
best.
it is the best, isn't it? The potential everybody wins Super Bowl, Casey, where we don't even know who to root for in this one. The Buffalo Bills, 9-2 with their 6th straight win, beating Kansas City, right? Snapping their 15-game win streak last week. Lions crushing the Jags last week to get to 9-1. Makes the first time they've won their 9 of their first 10 since 90 years ago when they went 10-0 back in 34. It was a
Oh, I
good
remember
season.
that.
It's a good season back there in 34 about those Lions.
Dave, and the crazy thing too is in our picks pool, which is highly competitive, the Bills Chiefs game was a null.
I know,
Everybody was on the Bills.
I was blown away by that when
Yeah.
I saw that every single one of us, whatever it is, 15, 16 people, all had that feeling that this was time that the Bills were going to take care of business in this regular season matchup.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the post, but the Bills feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Hey, just want to remind the people the Trend Zone, the podcast you're listening to right now, is available for subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever the hell you get your podcasts. All right, David, it's time to get into some top trending stories. Let's go ahead and start in New York, baby. Dime bag walk.
Yeah.
Respect.
There you go. Yeah, I'll tell you what. It is a benching Brian Dayball. Yeah, maybe an effort to save his own butt here in the bigger picture. Demotes Daniel Jones to actually to 4th, all the way to 4th. They just brought somebody in, and I said, "You're in front of Jones. Jones, you're 4th." DeVito, Tommy DeVito, that is, will be the starter. So he went from 3-1, while Drew Lock sits there as their backup quarterback there. Um, last year DeVito did give them the spark. They went 3-3, I believe, in that time period. He threw, 8 touchdowns, 3 picks, something like that. Um, you know,
Hey.
he played he played fine, right? Tommy Cutlets or
Hey,
something.
forget about it, Dave. Come on, man.
I don't know what this is going to do for the Giants. Sitting there 2-8, and
I know what it's going to do to them. It's going to ensure that Dimebag doesn't get hurt and their Giants will not be on the hook for
that's
his
right.
money next season.
That is right. The injury clause, which I believe somewhere around 25 million bucks, something like that. They got to protect themselves. That's why he's 4th string.
Yeah, and it's weird that Drew Lock isn't getting a taste. I mean, he was
Right.
horrible in the look he got earlier, but I think you kind of want to find out what you have in him. I think you know what DeVito is, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know. And they brought him in, I think, on a 1 year, $5 million deal. I'm sure he's probably wondering what the hell happened here. You
Yeah.
know, how did I get overlooked? But oh
Oh,
well. You know,
baby. I don't want to jump the gun, but now we're looking next Thursday at a DeVito Rush potential Thursday game with the Cowboys and Giants. Woo!
just like they drew it up
Oh,
as
yeah.
schedule makers, right?
Well, hopefully we're seeing Trey Lance in that game, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Obviously, Thanksgiving is next week. That's not enough for the NFL. They want to dominate Christmas too, and they just gave the people a reason to tune in at halftime.
Yeah, it's going to be Beyonce. She'll be performing at halftime of the Christmas game in Houston. And obviously, they're trying to, I guess, make up for kind of a crappy boxing match that they served up the other day. Maybe there were some technical glitches. I'm not sure what people experienced. The way I was streaming it myself, um, you know, let's just leave that story untold. I didn't know anyone else had technical difficulties, but I, keeping me awake for that game, for that boxing match was something. This game hopefully will be a lot more exciting than that was, regardless of who performs at halftime.
That's
Although
right.
we know how much I love Beyonce.
Yeah, I mean, is it more her solo stuff or the Destiny's Child? Probably too hard for you to choose.
So many hits. Nothing specific comes to mind.
Beyonce, when all is said and done, will probably be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But the Football Hall of Fame, dude, they just put the list down to 25.
Whew.
And there are some names on this list. Go ahead and give me a couple that you think are need to be in there, if not shoe ins.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, we've got, and I'm just going to say it, he should have been there last year. Antonio Gates, the Charger, his whole career, he's seventh in career touchdown receptions with 116. That's more than any tight end in NFL history. I have
Wait,
no
seventh
idea.
in tight ends?
No, seventh in overall receiving touchdowns of all players in the NFL all time. I'd have
Yeah.
no idea how they passed him by in his first ballot, but they have to rectify that this year. This list, though, is an exceptional list of very, very, uh, qualified people. I don't know how many they can let in the gates here, but obviously, oops, little Gates slip there.
Oh, yeah, I
Um,
like it.
but there's a couple of other dudes that are pretty awesome too. We know, of course, a guy whose last name uh, rhymes with Canning. I'm
Former
talking
Charger?
right for about 45 minutes. Mr. Eli Manning is destined to get in. Does he deserve to be in his first shot? Well, he won 2 Super Bowls. He was about a 500
So
quarterback
did
for
Jim
the rest of his
Plunkett.
career. Right. So if just winning a Super Bowl gets you in, then he's definitely on his way in. But he did win two of them. It's more than a lot of the dudes who rode along with a really good team. Anyways, other dudes in here. I mean, Jared Allen. I think he has over 100 sacks in his career. James Harrison was an absolute beast in his day for the Steelers. There, you got the kicker Adam Vinatieri. I mean, he
Yeah,
was
he's got to be.
money
Yeah.
for a decade for a Super Bowl winning team. So, yeah, anything. Am I overlooking somebody here? Rodney Harrison, former Charger and Patriot, also pretty strong candidate. Probably not going to get in, but we'll see.
Rodney doesn't deserve to get in before my guy Darren Woodson, dude.
Correct.
On that defense, the 3 Super Bowls, he changed a lot of the way that position was played at the time, a crucial part of that Cowboys run. He absolutely needs to be in there.
Yeah.
And then you got a handful of guys that are maybes or probablys. I could go either way, but you mentioned Gates and Woody absolutely have to be in there. And I think Vinatieri is a lock as well. And these other guys, I could take or leave them. Maybe they get in next
Yep.
time.
Yep.
All right, Dave. Speaking of Hall of Fame, how about total viewing domination, baby?
Yeah, how about the NFL? 17.5 million is the average viewers per NFL game this year to date. And out of the top 50 shows on television, NFL has 47 of them. That's right. That is total domination. I'm just wondering, honestly, I wish we had the information, what the other three shows were that somehow snuck in there. Probably one of those season finales of Survivor. I'm banking on, right. Um, Moving on though, Casey, just to give a taste of what we're talking about here. Kansas City versus Buffalo just last week. The game that was a super football game. 31.2
Wow.
million viewers. I was watching it on my phone outside of SoFi Stadium on my way in there. But man, what a game, huh?
Yeah, that was an awesome game. The Chiefs actually in four of these top games for the season. And my Cowboys, it was before we knew how badly they sucked, but week 3 against the Ravens, they brought in 27.3 million, dude. Not too shabby.
Whew. NFL's king.
All right. We have one of these wild card billionaire owners making lots of moves, Dave. Another jet is taking flight out of New York. I don't know if they're flying out of JFK or LaGuardia, but they gone.
They are gone. Jets fire GM Joe Douglas. He is out of there. It was Robert Saleh that got the axe way too soon, in my opinion. Woody there just, I don't know what he's thinking. He's got a knee-jerk kind of reactionary approach to football here. I don't know how you have a 40-year-old quarterback and you start pulling the plug on things all around him. You know, um, I don't know if he's going to, when it really boils down to it, is he the guy that's going to rebuild the next version of this Jet squad? And will it have Aaron Rodgers, or is this, that ship has sailed perhaps? And does Jets fan wish that there could be one other person who was out of the equation? Woody himself.
Yeah, they would get rid of that guy in a heartbeat if they could. These meddling billionaire owners, Dave, when will they ever learn?
Yeah. Get a football guy in there. Let him do football decisions.
You know what Derek Zoolander and some of these coaches have in common?
No, what is that?
They're so hot right now. Dave, the
Okay.
seats are heating up. We already lost Robert Saleh, as you mentioned. The Jets are 1-5 since he was fired. Dennis Allen of the Saints gets fired. The Saints are 2-0 since he was let go. But what are some other coaches that seat is heating up, baby?
Yeah, how about Eberflus there? They obviously fired the OC and a handful of other offensive coaches there for the Bears. It started off really exciting, and now it's kind of fizzled out. But how often does a young quarterback have to go through multiple coaches? I don't know if they want to go that route. Doug Peterson seems to. This is just a massively underachieving Jaguar squad since about mid-season last year when they were like 8-1 or something. They
Yeah.
have absolutely tanked it. And I'm sorry to say, your guy Mike McCarthy, Casey, seems like he's definitely one of the dudes that I don't know how he can get through this season, no matter what happens at this point with
Yeah.
Dak gone. It's not necessarily his fault that the wheels fell off this year. And after 3 straight 12-win seasons, it seems like, does he get another shot? But also the playoff record comes into play here as well. And what is the big term, long term plan here? Um, maybe it's time to get some fresh blood in there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you're not going like this after year 5, I hate switching stuff over, but I think that might be getting the call there. And then, Dave, they're not quite on the hot seat yet, but I'm going to go ahead and mention a coach here, dude, that I think his seat might be getting a little bit warm, and that's Zach Taylor. You saw him on Sunday night. The Bengals are a good squad, but they're 4-7, bro. They
Yeah.
are wasting Joe Burrow's Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, and this is certainly debatable because he certainly, Zach Taylor, comes with a reputation as being one of those, brilliant young minds,
Mhm.
offensive minds in the game here. And the Joe Burrow is putting up crazy numbers,
Yeah.
but it seems like every season they come out and they're sub 500 and they have to
Mhm.
claw their way back into it. And this, I don't know if they're out of it now at 4-7, but man, there's not a lot of margin for error.
Mm-mm.
So Zach could be on the hot seat there. Another guy, I mean, who knows? He's only been on the job for approximately a year. But if he makes it to the end of the year, Antonio Pierce for the Raiders, you know, um, I don't know, how many coaches they're going to roll through over there. In the last handful of years, Mark Davis has not had a you know long window before he decides to
Mhm.
pull the plug on these dudes. And then how about for the Browns, man? Uh, Kevin Stefanski, and if he goes, the GM's got to go too.
Yeah.
Those guys both, and really, he's another one of those owners that's just like, dude, get out of the football room. They collectively came up with the idea of trading the house for Deshaun Watson and then paying him the ungodly amount of guaranteed money they did. They all should go.
Yeah. And then in Vegas, it's going to be interesting to see if the Tom Brady factor has anything to do
Yes.
with how that franchise moves forward.
Yeah, and I didn't mention that, but it came into my mind like, there's something going on there, and it has to. Maybe they need something bigger, a bigger name there.
Vrabel, maybe. I don't know.
That would work.
Well,
That would.
we got through a week without any catastrophic injuries. We do have some that we want to run through. Go ahead and tell the peoples who might not be playing.
Yeah, I just burned through it. Lad McConkey did get a banged up shoulder, but he came back in, so hopefully that's good. We haven't heard word on that. It seemingly was possibly an AC joint sprain. Darnell Mooney, receiver there, hamstring. So he missed some work before that. Missed the last game with an Achilles. Now it's a hammy. So he might be missing a couple of games. Puka Nakua, not sure about his concussion situation. Looked like he came back in, but you never know if that acts up. And then wide receiver Gabe Davis for Jacksonville. He is on IR now, and it's season ending. He had season-ending meniscus tear, so he'll be getting surgery if he hasn't already had it. Hasn't had an impact season, but then
No.
again, who has on the Jags? So
Give me some good injury news, Dave.
okay, it's Isaiah. Well,
It depends who you ask.
perspective, my friend. Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs, looking like he's very, very close. It would be they just don't. There's not a need to necessarily rush him
Yeah.
back onto the scene, but they'll see as they approach next week whether or not he's good to go officially, and then they'll get him in. But he's coming back from IR anyway you slice it.
And you know where he wants to be, dude, on the specific list of those that made Total Fantasy Domination. Dave, give me a quarterback.
How about Jared Goff, Purple Sabbath, and the Detroit Lions soaking it up here with Goff. 412 pass yards, 4 touchdowns, 21 rush yards for Goff. What a day.
Yeah, and this guy's on here every other week. It's Saquon Barkley from the Eagles and those Cookie Monsters. 146 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Go ahead and throw on another 52 receiving yards.
Wow. How about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Casey, from
Brah.
your Foul Boys? And the Detroit Lions, of course, 4 rush yards, 161 receiving yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns.
But was it enough to get the Foul
Was
Boys a victory?
it was
We shall
it was
see.
not. It was
Oh,
not.
how would you know that? And Dave, before we move on,
You're
how about Taysom Hill, baby? All he did was 18 pass yards and an interception. How do you get on the list for that? No, because it was 138 rush yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and 50 receiving yards. A little bit of everything for Taysom Hill. Dave, I noticed that he's on waivers this week. Who would be dumb enough to cut this guy?
That would be Kozlu. Unbelievable. Kozlu with his genius. I don't know how many transactions the average fantasy player makes, but
Double or triple that, and you have Cause.
then you've got Kaz. That's
Taysom
right.
Hill, cup of coffee with the Green Bud Packers.
Hit the road, pal. You're
Mm.
out of here.
Okay. After that nonsense, how about our fantasy go back starts of the week? If you could have made a coaching change, would it have gotten you the W?
Yeah, well, I did end up eking out the victory, Casey, against your Foul Boys. But I'll tell you what, I didn't end up in the money. I thought I was going to for the first time, either this whole year or in a long ass time. But I didn't. I was in fourth with the points there. I could have made a couple of switcheroos. Looking it up right now, Juwan Jennings could have gotten me 15 instead of Quentin Johnston, who got me a 10. So that's about 5 more. And then Bijan or Brian Robinson had a 13. That was instead of McCaffrey with a 10. Yeah, I don't know that this was going to do it, Casey. I think I was just stuck in the mud there. Yeah.
I had a
Nothing I
pretty
could have done.
solid week. I couldn't have done anything else. I maximized my output, but this fantasy season has been a disaster for me,
Yeah, well,
stacked with Chiefs, and just they are not getting the job done for me. So, congratulations to the Lightning Strikes taking this
that's 3.
round of, well, not three in a row against me, 3 wins on the season for
3
you.
total, my friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
baby, we're getting
Uh,
there. Bragging rights for the football dudes head to head.
That's
Go to Dave for one more year. All right,
right.
Dave. Speaking of 3 in a row, how about 3 strikes?
Yeah, so last week's most popular correct pick, Miami beating the Raiders. That was over 33% of the people. Also, a big one was Detroit over Jayville. That was 29.33% of the people.
What about the most popular incorrect pick?
That was San Fran over Seattle, and that was just 4.36%. So not very many people got burned. Looks like everybody had a pretty clean week, unless you were forced to take San Fran or thought that's not a. I mean, I guess San Fran often beats Seattle, but you stay away from divisional.
Well, I didn't listen to my own advice. I have 1 strike left. I went with the Green Bay Packers to beat those hapless Chicago Bears,
Woo!
and it was just a bad day. I thought LaFleur called a terrible offensive game, especially late, left some points out there.
Mhm.
Donk decision, gave the Bears the ball back, driving down for the game-winning field goal, Dave, to not only crush the Packers, but to crush my Survivor 3 strikes pool. Blocked. The Pack somehow squeak out of there with the win, and I live to fight another day. So, Dave, since I'm going to be in it one more week, what is the most popular correct pick?
That is next week. It's a tie, either Detroit over Indy or Kansas City over Carolina. Either one of those is good. Um, Real quick, back to that Packers Bears game. I happened to be watching it with Kozlu, the diehard Packer fan, and Jim O'Brien,
Oh.
major Bears fan.
Oh, you mean that guy in that new Lexus commercial that dumps
That's
his
the
kid at
guy.
college and goes plays baseball at the beach with his wife?
That's the dude, man. Tell you what, that was quite a finish. And the Kozlu reaction, running around insanely.
Did he break into show tunes?
Oh man, it was hard for him not to rub it in.
Oh,
What
brutal.
a crazy one.
Oh yeah, that was a crazy game, and I live to fight another week. And a bunch of people used up the Detroit Rock City Lions this week, so I still have them. I actually have some pretty good teams left, so hopefully
Nice.
I can do that the right way. But Dave, to hell with all that fantasy 3 strikes crap. It
Yeah.
is time to get to the games. We have a few teams on bye this week. We're talking Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Jags, Saints, Jets, all on a bye for week 12.
Week 12?
Yeah, week 12.
It's slipping away.
Oh my God, dude. We
Really
are
is slipping
running
away, man.
out of football, but
Oh boy.
we do have some good games. Well, maybe. We're going to go ahead and start in the AFC North. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns, and the Steelers are 3.5 point favorites on the road.
Yeah, the 8-2 Steelers, they are the 3 seed right now, on the verge of another winning season under Tomlin, who's never had a losing season in his entire career. It'll be 21 straight winning seasons for the Steelers. That is a NFL record that is ties an NFL record currently held by your Cowboys
How about them Cowboys?
from 65 to 85. Those good old
Oh,
days, right, Casey?
yeah. Days.
Steelers last had a losing season in 2003, going 6-10
Wow.
over Kawa. Nice pick, Kawa.
Nice
All
pick.
right. They haven't finished 8-8 or worse since then. This is a 5-game winning streak that they're on. Haven't beaten the Ravens last week too, to really extend their division lead over the Ravens by denying the Ravens a 2-point conversion right there at the end. It was fantastic finish. But ultimately, Russ did not cook in this game, and the Steelers did end up hitting 6 field goals for the win. The secret for the Steelers, though, physical, play good defense, protect the football. They've got plus 11 in the turnover ratio. Let's move it over to the Browns. Things aren't so good
Ugh.
here. 2-8. They were destroyed by the Saints last week, despite nearly 400 yards passing and 2 touchdowns from Winston. Jerry Jeudy had 142 and a touchdown. Nowhere near good enough because the Cleveland defense gave up over 200 yards rushing. Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill
Oh,
destroyed them.
yeah.
This game
Brutality.
is not looking like a great football game, but it is Thursday night, and we're going to watch it.
So the Factory of Sadness is staying open late on Thursdays now,
That is right.
at least for
This
this week.
Thursday. This Thursday.
All right, get us going.
All right, so it's Sunday morning. It is the Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans, and the Texans are favored by 8.5 in this one. Get it started going, Casey, with the Houston Texans or the Titans. Which one do you
Yeah,
prefer?
the Titans are the former Houston Oilers, so but now they're the
Oh,
Tennessee Titans, and the
that's
Houston
right.
Texans are the former nobody, but now they're the Houston. But Houston has they don't get to wear that old Titans uniform when they do the throwbacks. Those belong to the Titans. So I'm just throwing you off a little bit because this game is
Yeah.
going to suck. It is a divisional game, and the Titans aren't going anywhere. They don't know if they need a quarterback. Got to find out what they have in Levis. But you flip it
Mhm.
over to these Texans. They know what they have in C.J. Stroud, and he got Nico Collins back, and there was a clear
Yeah.
uptick in the offense. They had been struggling to score in the second half of games. Maybe it was that Cowboys defense. Maybe it was Nico back, but the offense looked good in the second half of that game. And Joe Mixon, dude, running all over my Cowboys. 3 touchdowns on
Yeah.
the day. And that Texans defense also getting in on the action. They had a scoop and score, totally dominating the Cowboys. They're going to host a game. They would like to maybe make that hosting 2 games in the playoffs, handle the poor teams that you're playing against, and you should get there. So Texans need to handle their biz against the Titans. Don't mess around.
Yeah, and it's all about turnovers for the Titans. They're minus 11, which is one of the worst in the league. Houston +8. So if the Titans can stay away from the turnovers, they can make this an interesting football game because Levis has shown that he has big playability. But yeah, they have got to protect the football.
All right, this is great news for the Carolina Panthers. They have an angry 9-1 Kansas City Chiefs coming to the town. They're at the Carolina Panthers. The Chiefs are 11-point favorites coming off their first loss of the year.
Yeah. So the Chiefs, of course, have been playing just well enough to win. They finally got that loss after they should have really lost 2 weeks ago when the Broncos had them set up, had them against the ropes, and there was that blocked field goal. 2 weeks in a row with a blocked field goal that saves the game. Um, this time they were done in by a huge Josh Allen touchdown run late in the
Oh,
game that gave them
on
the
4th
two
down.
score. Yeah, on 2, and it was a 2-score lead. That's how you beat the Chiefs. No time on the clock, up by 2 scores. Okay.
Mhm.
And they got it done. Um, Mahomes was pretty strong in this game. He
Yeah.
had 11 pass catchers, 200, but under 200 yards, but 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks. So there was some good and bad in there. Interesting though, the Chiefs were just held to just 78 rushing yards in this game, and Mahomes didn't run the ball at all, which is normally he's good for key,
Mhm.
moving the chains a couple of different times in a game. Nothing there. So great job by the Bills, kind of like disciplined rush. You
Yeah.
have to keep them in the pocket. Don't let them get loose. The good news for the Chiefs, as you mentioned, is they're playing the Panthers this week. Although the Panthers have, that being said, they're coming off their bye and they're on a 2-game winning streak for a 3-win team. That's pretty hot, right? Is it too
Yeah.
much to ask that they get a third straight? Right?
Depends who
Yeah.
they're playing.
Yeah, right. They are last in total yards, and on defense, they're last in points given up. So, but it is the NFL, the any given Sunday theory in play.
All right. Up next, we got the Detroit Rock City Lions at the Indianapolis Colts. And those Lions are 7.5-point favorites.
Yeah, how about these Lions, man? They are putting up a ton of points this year, leading the league at 33.6 points per game.
And dude, it's how they're doing it. Dan Campbell's like, we're going to beat the shit out of you. There's
Yeah,
nothing you can do about it. We're not leaving any room for
right.
doubt or error. We're going to stomp you out. And that's
Yeah,
how we do business. And I love it,
yeah.
dude. It's refreshing in the NFL. It's not this good guy crap. It's like, we're going to smoke you.
Yeah, they do not let their foot off the gas. It doesn't matter how many points they're out in front. They're lighting up the scoreboard, man. They enter this game at 9-1, and they absolutely destroyed the Jaguars last week. Goff, 412 passing yards. We mentioned before the 4 touchdowns, 158.3, the perfect passer rating. That's only 7 times in the NFL history has a quarterback finished the game with at least 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a perfect passer rating. That's happened 7 times. Goff's on the list twice now.
Crazy.
He did it with the Rams as well a handful of years ago. Amon-Ra St. Brown, as we mentioned, had a huge game, 161 and 2 scores. Jamison Williams also 124 yards and a touchdown. So everybody gets to have a fun time. Detroit defense is legit also. 5th in points given up at 17.7. Man, everything's clicking. +9 on the turnover ratio. It's all coming up Detroit, baby.
Yeah, these Indianapolis Colts saved their season, I think, last week with that
Yep.
upset of the Jets. Anthony Richardson responding from coming back from being benched to playing some pretty good football. 20 of 30, 272, had a touchdown, no interceptions. Now, he did have a fumble, but he also had 2 rushing touchdowns. So the Colts down the stretch have a very tough schedule, but Anthony Richardson is that wild card. If he plays well,
Hmm.
they're capable of beating anybody. And Jonathan Taylor really struggled against those Jets, which was kind of surprising. So that put more on AR's arm, and he was up to the challenge. It's not going to get any easier this week with the Lions coming to town. So, they can maybe sustain 1 or 2 more losses. It's going to get tricky, but if you're going to take one, there's no shame in doing it to the Lions. But if they somehow figure out a way to win this game, then they're going to shoot right up the ranks, and that would be pretty sexy.
Yeah, they're still just a little bit right outside the playoffs looking in. I think they're that 8th seed right now,
Oh.
if I'm not mistaken. Okay, moving on. It's the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Then the Vikings are 3.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, and the Vikings found their mojo again last week. Sam Darnold, man, he's been awesome for these guys. Struggling to get that run game going a little bit, but they broke that streak of 2 straight games of 3 or more turnovers. So that's moving in the right direction. Another divisional game. They could go ahead and snuff out the Bears season here. And the Vikings right in that mix for a potential 1 seed in the NFC. They still have a huge game coming up against the Detroit Lions. So go ahead and beat these Bears, get them
Yeah.
out of the mix, make them quit believing, send them into hibernation. The Vikings have a ton of weapons, and they'll go. I love that Brian Flores defense, but they're going to go as far as Sam Darnold can take them. But they
Yeah.
took the heartbeat of that Packers team in Aaron Jones, and he's delivering some of that blood to everywhere on this Viking squad. And quietly 8-2. You don't think about that with the Vikings, but they're right there with everything in front of them.
And how about the Bears, Casey? Sort of struggling a little bit, right? I mean,
Yeah.
definitely thought they had the W last week against the Pack.
And that's 2 absolutely brutal losses. They had the Hail Mary to the Durs a couple weeks
Yep.
ago, and then you think that you have these Packers beaten. You're taking the ownership back. Caleb Williams in his first home game against those Packers, ripping up the deed, saying, "Yeah, you don't owe us anymore." Wrong.
Yeah.
The Pack still own them. So I don't know that they have can recover from this again. I don't know that Eberflus can recover from this again. Saying the way he wasted the time with that last field goal. How many times do we see that teams
Yeah.
get right on the outskirts? We're
And
good
then
enough here, dude. It
get
was whole,
closer.
and they showed the stat like Cairo 45 and beyond is like 70%. Under 45, 100%. I'm no math wizard, Dave, but
Yeah.
I know what 100% means. That means every time. So
Yeah.
a missed opportunity there. It cost him the big win, and it might end up costing him his job.
Yeah, and I did like some of the changes they made offensively. I think they DeAndre Swift had
Mhm.
a pretty big game and a nice big touchdown run, I recall. And also I think they featured Caleb Williams as a designed runner
Yeah.
a little bit more just to sort of steal some first downs that way and threaten the defense that way. And I thought those were some nice adjustments that the new offensive minds there that are kind of moving the parts around for the Bears came up with. it looked like it worked, and then it wasn't quite enough. And like you said, you don't get kind of like to the 30 and then think, oh, we're good enough.
Yeah,
You get it to the
you
15,
had
or
time.
I mean, yeah, get it
Yeah.
closer, make that thing unmissable.
Yeah, and I like what you said about Caleb. They were getting the ball out of his hand early. That's when the bad stuff comes, when he holds and tries to make that play
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
It's not scramble for 40 yards and hit a wide open guy like it was at SC. This is the NFL, baby. That shit don't fly.
nope, no doubt.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New York Giants. Hey, the DeVito Giants, come on, baby, what we gonna do? And Baker and them Bucks, baby, 5.5-point favorites on the road, and they might be getting Mike Evans back.
Yeah, that would be
Hopefully.
huge. Yeah.
Woo.
Both these teams coming off their bye, so well rested. That's kind of finally the NFL people didn't, chip out one team or the other here. But 4-6 though, these Bucks are pretty damn disappointing at this point, considering some of the flashes that we saw along the way. But and they're half game out of that last wild card spot, so nothing's done just yet.
Mm-mm.
And they're also just a game and a half. Back, excuse me, they're 2.5 out of that last wild card spot, and a game and a half back from the division by Atlanta, but Atlanta swept them. So it's a long journey back right now. But the Bucks also losing 4 straight games, little margin for error for this Buck squad. You mentioned getting Mike Evans back would be huge. Obviously, Baker has been, doing everything he can. These guys can run the football. When they get it going, Bucky Irvin and company there. But this should be a get right game for them against a Giants squad that's 2-8. They've lost 5 in a row, so something's got to give here. Losing last to the Panthers, that's what really finally got the job done with benching Daniel Jones. So it is DeVito instead of Drew Lock. I'm honestly, I think Drew Lock will give a better chance to win, but it doesn't really matter at this point if they win or lose or not. They got, like you said, to keep the quarterback safe and in bubble wrap so that they don't have to pay the $23 million to Daniel Jones, and they can get out of that contract there. And it's all about moving ahead with whatever is the picture, like in the draft. They're one of 5 teams with 2 wins. They have arguably they could get the top NFL draft, and that could be the step in the direction they need to go. This whole thing needs to be burned to the ground and started over.
Yeah, and these Bucks, dude, are 2 plays away from actually being 6-4. Actually, 4 plays away because they lost the last second to the Falcons twice, and then the Chiefs when they could have gone for 2, and the
Yeah,
Niners. So they got to find a way to finish these games because
yeah,
they could be sitting in a much different situation. So I still think
yeah,
they can get it right. Baker's playing hella good football. If
yeah.
they get Mike Evans back, that's a huge deal. So
That would be enormous. All
mhm.
right, Casey, it is your Dallas Cowboys. They're still yours.
They're still mine.
Okay, your Dallas Cowboys at the Washington Commanders, and the Commanders are favored by 10.5 at home in this one. Whoo.
Yeah, dude, and not a lot going right for the Cowboys this year. And the way they've been outscored at home is absolutely insane. And their last, I think, 5 games at home, they've been outscored like 1,000,000 to 17. It has not been pretty. We mentioned Joe Mixon, what he did. He had 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards against them.
Yeah, he
Nico
was rolling.
Collins running all over them last week, too, in the secondary in his first game back. They just don't have a lot going on offense. They cannot run the freaking football, dude, like 50 yards rushing. And when Dak Prescott is out of the game, dude, Cooper Rush should not be throwing the ball 55 times. That is a recipe for
Yikes.
disaster, dude.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
No.
They're out of this. They don't realize it yet. At some point, you have to play Trey Lance. I'm sure they're going to have
Yeah.
something for him in this game. We haven't seen enough of him yet. That was another thing. That 4th down and 2 after Aubrey hit the 64-yarder. There was the penalty. They go down there, 4th and 2. We don't have a run play for Lance in there. Get in there and do something.
And they
So,
said they had a little package, or they were hoping to get him
hey,
in
I'm
for a
grower,
series.
not a shower. What? Oh,
They wanted to get him in for a series, and McCarthy regretted not getting him in. But you're absolutely right. When you can't run and you can't stop the run, um, just see what the kid quarterback can bring you.
yeah.
This isn't going anywhere. We need to find out what he brings. You traded a 4th rounder for the dude.
Yeah, we got to see what he can do. And then you flip it over to these Durs, dude. They still have dreams. They have playoff potential, but also of getting that division. They lose a close game to the Eagles last Thursday night. They're coming off a mini bye. Jaden Daniels has been absolutely electric. They're getting that run game going there, but everybody does that against the Cowboys. They're 4-1 at home. They're 3-3 on the road. But as everybody's found out this year, the Cowboys are winless at home. So there's going to be a lot of Durs fans in attendance, and there's probably going to be a lot of Durs points in this thing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this Washington football team with the three-headed monster at running back, Robinson, Eckler, and McNichols, um, they have been one of the best running teams in the league this year. So it's a tough matchup on top of it for your Cowboys there. I know as of last week, they were third in the league rushing. So I don't know where they rank right at the moment, but you got to say, hey, they're going to want to run the football and establish a physical style there and try and get that W.
Yeah, Cowboys 31st at running the football. Okay, moving on. It's the New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins are 7-point favorites at home.
Yeah, and the Patriots have won two of the last four, but they lost last week to the Rams. That brings their record to 3-8. Drake May has been promising. I think we can agree that he looks athletic. He kind of looks the part of a prototypical NFL quarterback in this day and age. But last week he had a nice game, 30 of 40, 282, two touchdowns, a pick. So pretty nice. There are some positives there for this new regime that the Patriots are putting together. Dolphins on the other side there. They got Tua back 3 weeks ago after losing 4 of the 5 games that he missed with his concussion. They've now won 2 straight games, beating the Rams and then the Raiders last week. That gets their record to 4-6 from 2-6. Tua had a great game last week, 28 of 36, 288, and 3 touchdowns. So a real nice performance. But the division obviously feels out of reach. I mean, they're 4.5 games behind Buffalo. So kind of forget about that, right? And, this is another week that they have to get a W to keep their playoff hopes alive. They are just a game and a half out of the last wild card spot. But again, with 6 losses already, not a lot of wiggle room. So this is a feisty Patriots team. The Dolphins have to win.
Yeah, and I think the Patriots hit a home run with Drake May. He's going to be the guy moving forward. Anything that happens is good news for them. And the Dolphins, I think they could still be in the mix, man. A healthy Tua, and like you said, that's a totally different team. And
Yeah.
Tyreek looking more like Tyreek, even though he has that bad wrist, found a way to contribute.
All right, moving to the late slot, Casey. It is going to be the Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Broncos on the road are favored by 5.5.
And dude, the Broncos are good. This is a good damn football team. Bo Nix looks the part. He's obviously the AFC Player of the Week. They put the beat down on the Falcons 38-6. Bo Nix 28 of 33, 5 incompletions, 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards. They have the three-headed monster at running back too, and Williams McLaughlin and your guy Audric Estime there. And then you throw in Bo Nix for good measures there. Cortland Sutton having a real nice game. They love Devon Vele there. My guy Marvin Mims had a touchdown too. But Dave, it's this Broncos defense, man. I am so impressed with these guys.
Yeah.
They are really doing some work there. I think they're third in the league. They're getting after the quarterback. They're making life tricky on everybody, giving up less than 17 points a game. You can't run on them. You can't pass on them. They're leading the league in sacks. Nick Bonito is absolutely crushing it, dude. And like I said,
they love to blitz. And they are one of the most blitz happy teams in the league, and they get home a lot. So, like you mentioned, leading the league in sacks, you have got to look out for that defense. They got a lot of talented dudes that make plays.
Yeah, and the Raiders coming in at 2-8 on the verge of a free fall. They need to be in the quarterback mix. They would secretly love to lose all the rest of their games and get one of those quarterbacks up at the top. Might be a new coach. Who knows? We're going to see what happens there. But this is a game. I know it's divisional, but the Broncos can't mess around with these Raiders. Go in there, smash them, get the hell out of Vegas. Maybe put a couple bucks down at the on the craps table before you leave. But don't mess around with these Raiders.
And I am a Raiders fan this week. Go Raiders!
Disgusting. It happens, so I
It's
get it.
icky, but I'll take a
All
shot
right,
at that.
we actually have a sweet NFC West game coming up. The Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks, and the Hawks are 1-point favorites in this game.
Yeah, let's see, man. I'll tell you what, Cardinals, though, this team has been really, really fun and exciting. They're 6-4. They're on top of the very tightly contested NFC West. All the other three teams are 5-5, so it's not like some kind of comfortable lead. They're a week away from being tied with everybody, or 2 weeks away from being in last place. They are, though, coming off their bye week. But before that, they completely clobbered the Jets. Well, no big deal. You got to do what you're supposed to do, right? Kyler Murray, though, very efficient in the game, 22 of 24, 266 and a touchdown. John Connor, 113 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown. And Trey Benson also ran the ball well for them there. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison. I'm just rattling off names, but there are talented guys here on this offense that when they put it together, they've got some really nice weapons for this Cardinals team and for Kyler to work with there. They're a legit threat to win this division. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
They're not just some kind of smoke and mirrors deal. They are a solid football team. The way that John Connor runs his physical approach, it's almost like that's the persona of this team.
Yeah.
And then that wild card, which is Kyler Murray.
Yeah, with one of the sweetest deep balls. But then you throw it over the Seahawks, baby. They went into San Fran and beat those freaking Niners, man. Gino had a great game, 25 of 32. He did have the interception, but when the money was on the table,
Woo!
Gino snatched that and he's running to the end zone. He's like, they called me out, but I didn't call him back. Touchdown. Seattle wins the game.
Hey.
I do need to see them get a little more out of the run game. It's kind of struggling there, but who's not
Big
struggling?
time.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, dude, back-to-back weeks
2 weeks in a row.
of over 100 yards, but it's the timely catches. Late on that final drive, had some huge catches on 3rd and 4th down, setting Gino up for that game winner. He's emerging. DK still coming back from injury, but he was 7 for 70. So Mike McDonald's having a great impact on this team, getting better. This is a huge game. You mentioned the Cardinals, baby. They could extend that lead, or the Seahawks could muck it up and make
Big
that
time.
West a crazy bird battle. So this is going to be a very physical game, and it's hugely important for how the West will be won.
Totally. And Smith and Jigma, you mentioned it. It's 290 yards on 17 grabs for 2 scores in the last 2 weeks alone.
And Mike, even though he's on my foul boys, I'm 0-2 the last 2 weeks.
Unbelievable. And Geno Smith leading the league in passing yards per game. But that ground game, you mentioned it. They are just not getting, they're just not balanced enough. They need that ground game. They got the backs. They just got to put it together.
Yeah, and that's something they can work out, but they have to get that settled if they want to make a push and get into the postseason.
If they want to really be a contender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they get that run game going, watch out, baby. Could be fireworks.
All right. Next up, it's San Francisco at Green Bay. And the Packers are at home here, and they are favored by 2.5. Good game.
Yeah, and we just mentioned these Niners. It looked like they had that game against Seattle wrapped up. It seemed like it was over, but Seattle kept battling. Nick Bosa goes out with an injury. I'm not sure what his status is going to be moving forward.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this. These Niners have been in the mix, 5 years now, playing 2 or 3 or 4 extra games every year.
Tires you out.
That adds up to an extra whole football season. I think we might be seeing some of that, and just too many injuries. When Debo's not over there punching guys and choking them on the sideline, only 4 grabs for 22 yards. And that run game from Debo that's been so solid, 1 carry for -1 yard.
Wow.
So I know they're working McCaffrey back into the mix, and he had a 4-yard average. 19 touches is pretty good, but they're not consistent enough on offense. Teams are getting after Purdy there, 21 of 28, only 159 yards and an interception. So they need to find someone to step up. Last week it was Jawan Jennings, 10 for 91, but they need to get Kittle back and healthy, and they need some of these other fringe guys to get healthy. And now they're teetering on the edge, dude. Now they're behind the Seahawks and the Cardinals. So it's not going to get any easier going to Green Bay.
No. And this Packers team, they get into this game come in with the 7-3 record after pulling off that magical win we talked about, where they got the field goal block to secure the victory there. Jordan Love, an efficient game in that game last week against the Bears, 13 of 17, 261, a touchdown and a pick. Watson had a nice day receiving, 4 catches for 150, including a 60-yarder that somehow wasn't a touchdown. The Packers, though, they got to get the ground game going in this game if they want to really be in control of this game and to feel like their best chance to win. Get that ground game going. They're on the season. They're 4th in both rushing and total yards. The Packers are. They're 9th in passing. So it's a good squad. But last week the ground game wasn't there for them, and they really should have lost that football game. Here
Mhm.
they want to. They want to establish the ground game against this 49ers team and be the stronger, more physical football team in this one. It's going to be a real tough battle because, like you said, at 5-5, this Niners team, they are not messing around. They cannot afford to lose.
No, they're on the verge. So, and their schedule is not the easiest down the stretch either. This is a huge game for the Pack too.
Yeah, both games. All right, Sunday Night Football. What do we got?
It is our Los Angeles Rams hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, and those Eagles are 3-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, and the Eagles are 8-2, and they're quietly actually one of the better teams in the NFL. Let's say it. They're one of the better teams in the NFL right now, not just the NFC. They've won 6 in a row, and last week they beat Washington to really separate themselves in that division.
Mhm.
Um, they are now up by a game and a half on Washington, who's everybody's excited about, and rightfully so. But the Eagles are, like I said, it's just sort of like flying along, just sort of cruising through the air there, feeling good. It was Barkley going nuts so last week. 26 carries, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, 52 more through the air. On the season, this is the number 1 run team. They're 5th in yards, 7th in scoring at 25.9. So handling it on offense for sure. Facing this Rams team that has got to keep pace in that NFC in the NFC West there. So I mean, the Eagles want to keep it going, but the Rams, man, they absolutely need this win. The defense rather for the Eagles, number 1 in yards given up, 6th in
Wow.
points at under 18 a game, 2nd versus the pass, 7th versus the run. So this is a very well balanced Eagles football squad.
Yeah, and these Rams, man, I'm not sure what to think of them, but it feels like they might be rounding into shape.
Mm-hmm.
They've won some games that they weren't expected to, and they've lost some games they weren't expected to. But I like what's going on in the defense. They've hit on some of these late picks, and Brandon Fisk last week, he had 2 sacks against the Patriots there. A couple big tackles. Jared Verse is an absolute beast coming over
Yeah.
from Florida State. Kobe Turner, dude, year 2 or 3 into this, he's been a real nice addition. So they haven't missed. It's hard to say you haven't missed Aaron Donald, but this Rams team has been very
Right.
physical on defense. I love what they're doing. But you go over to the offense, and Matt Stafford, dude, pretty good last week against the Patriots, 18-27, 295. Oh, that's pretty good. 4 touchdowns. No, that's really good. And it helps when you have Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp back. Both of
Yeah.
those guys combined for over 230 yards and 3 touchdowns, dude. When you have and Puka is just physical, grimy. I love the way this guy plays football, but you might not have a more precise route runner than Cooper Kupp, and they kind of have that telepathy. He and Stafford just knows how to find that opening. And Kyron Williams, it was kind of a quiet 86 yards against the Patriots. It didn't feel like that, but it was almost 6 yards a carry. So
Nice.
um, this could be a statement game for these Rams. There's going to be a ton of Eagle fans in the house, but this is a game that the Rams need to find the way to win. And you mentioned it, these Eagles, one of the best teams in the NFL. Let's see what happens on Sunday night. You know who
Yeah, and
I'm
that
pulling for.
Rams team, it's been such an injury issue the whole year, the preseason, the
Mm-hmm.
line, the offensive line, then the receivers. It's sort of coming together for them. And when they all click, Man, it's a really, really good football team, so it should be a good game.
And I think they were, was it 3-6 last year when they decided to
Man,
quit effing around and went
ooh,
on that run? And they were one of the hottest teams last year going into the postseason. So
yeah,
it's all right there.
yep, sure
It's
is.
exciting.
Okay, moving on to Monday Night Football. It is the Baltimore Ravens at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Who's Los
Ravens
Angeles Chargers?
are Los
Our
Angeles
just making
Chargers,
sure.
and the Ravens are favored by 3 in SoFi Stadium. I object, but who are the odds makers, anyways? But how about this? The Harbaugh Bowl. John
Uh,
versus Jim. It's going to be
I'm
fun.
predicting a Harbaugh will win. And Dave, I don't remember what week it was. I think it was week 2 or 3 when I was railing against the Ravens, talking about if they go into the playoffs and Lamar throws 30 times and Derrick Henry only has 10 or so touches, they are the biggest dummies on the planet. Well,
Yes.
last week against the Steelers, Lamar 33 attempts, 16 to 33, 200 yards, touchdown and an interception. The interception wasn't his fault, but it's too many passes. And then Derrick Henry, only 13 carries. And I know sometimes games dictate that style, but
Yeah.
there's not a style that dictates Derrick Henry only getting 13 carries. Are you kidding me, bro?
Yeah.
And
I
then on
mean,
the 2 point conversion, I know everybody's beat the shit out of it all week, but he's got to be on the field. He doesn't have to get the ball, but he's got to be there. If he's not there,
right. At
you
least the
know,
threat of him getting the ball makes the defense have to commit bodies to that.
yeah, and the passing defense had been a struggle for the Ravens up until last week. You mentioned Russ could not cook. The Steelers moved the ball up and down the field, but the Ravens kept them out of the end zone.
Hmm.
So they're going to have to do more of that. Can they get Derrick Henry going? And Lamar has to be play better. They've been close in all these games, though. They're only the 2 point away from tying, going to overtime, missing the Chiefs game. So it's not like they're playing bad football, but they can't get it where Lamar is throwing 33 times and Derrick Henry is only rushing 13. It doesn't matter, dude. So it's going to be a tough game for them. Playing the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, super physical
Physical. Yeah.
divisional game, grimy, emotional, losing on the last play of the game. Well, guess what? Now you get to fly all the way across the country and you play maybe one of the hottest teams in the NFL and his brother on brother.
Yeah. And it's a physical squad that the Chargers are putting out there as well. Both of these teams, the Ravens in their 4 losses, you said they could have won all of those games. And they kind of like fell asleep at some point
Yeah.
and didn't play as well in the second half. Well, the Chargers have had that problem this year too, having a nice first half and then a lot of crappy offense in the second half with the defense bailing them out. But let me just talk the Chargers up for a minute, and then we'll talk about some of the things about what this how this game's going to unfold. The Chargers 7-3. They got their 4th straight win last week, beating the Bengals. Had a great first half, 24-6, but in the second half, next thing you know, it's tied at 27 late in that football game. And I'm not going to deny it. I said to my brother, "We're going to lose this game." And there we were in the stadium. The stadium was berserk. It was the best Chargers crowd I think I've ever seen in Los Angeles. I don't think there's even debating that. But you know what? The defense got a big stop late in that game.
Mhm.
McConkey with a couple of huge catches that set up a Dobbins game-winning touchdown with 18 seconds left. Herbert led the team in rushing, 5 carries and 65 yards. Now that he's healthy, we're seeing that this part of the game, this is part of the way the Chargers can attack you with their offense.
Yeah.
Herbert is very athletic and he's a big dude. So he can run the football. But look, Lab McConkey, another great game, 6 catches, 123 yards. He is the official go-to guy on this squad of lesser proven wide receivers, right? As a rookie, right? Herbert hasn't thrown a pick since week 2. That's a franchise record 8-game win streak. He has the
You just
longest
jinxed him.
streak in the NFL. I said it last week too. It's something along the lines of close to 300 passes that he's thrown without a pick. Chargers, as a result, have been pretty good at not turning the ball over and have gotten it. They're +8 in the turnover ratio. Defense is number 1 in points given up, still after giving up the most of the points they did in the entire year last year at last week at 27. They're just giving up 14 and a half points a game on the season. They're 6th in sacks with 34. They get a lot of sacks when it's obvious third down scenario.
Yeah.
They know how to attack the quarterback
And
late
didn't
in the
even
game.
have Mac last week.
Or the week before that, and they got a ton of pressures. I mean, Burrow was amazing in the pocket, but they got a lot of pressures, and that win makes the Chargers actually the 5 seed, which probably a lot of people don't think they're the 5 seed. The Ravens are the 6 seed, with a half, they're half game back. So it's obviously extremely important for seeding, with both teams not likely to win their divisions at this point in time. This Charger team, though, when we're looking at that Ravens defense, the secondary has been suspect all year. And in that circumstance, even though the Chargers want to run the football and establish the run, I think they're going to unleash Herbert early in this game and see if we can put points on the board early. When it comes to the other side, you're right. Every time Henry runs the ball for more than 100 yards, the Ravens win. And if he doesn't get enough touches, he doesn't get enough yards, then he doesn't. So how do the Chargers win? Obviously, try and take Henry away. Good luck with that. But then if you can, and you force him into passing situations, rush with discipline so you don't let Lamar get out of the pocket and make brilliant plays like he knows to do. Okay. This is going to be a fun game to watch. Both these teams really kind of feel like they need the game. If there's any chance that either team wants to win their own division, they need this W. And then obviously nobody's in the playoffs yet with the way things are going in the AFC. So this is a huge game anyway. Slice it.
And most people do know about Justin Herbert, but this is his chance on Monday night against a high-profile Ravens team to really put his stamp on where he is in the NFL. Going to have a broad audience watching this game. Can he deliver against that Ravens defense? Oh, baby, it is going to be sweet. How stoked are you, my friend?
I am completely stoked for this game.
Excellent. Hey, the Trend Zone, you're listening right now. Go ahead and subscribe. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music.
Yeah, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? Like us on Instagram and Facebook, and follow us on Twitter, aka X, at Football Dudes LA. Make sure you tag us across all those social media platforms.
And if you're out there surfing the interwebs, go ahead and bookmark footballdudes.com. That is going to do it for this episode of the Trend Zone. We're not the suits that talk football, we're the dudes that know football. For Dave, I am Casey. Enjoy the games, people. We are out of here.